So my name is Ryan Hoffman, and I'm the Director of Communications at Call to Action. And on behalf of everyone at Call to Action, we're just so excited to be a part of this forum today. And my responsibility is to introduce the next panel discussion this morning. And so without any further delay, I'll go ahead and do that. Our next panel conversation this morning is Called to Serve But Nowhere to Go, Addressing Discrimination in Church Service. And our moderator for this panel is Nicole Sotelo. Nicole?
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Well, good morning to those gathered here and those joining us via live streaming or via Twitter at hashtag CatholicWomen15. I feel blessed to have been asked to speak for a few minutes to set the context of our panel and then to introduce our speakers. As Ryan said, our panel's title is Called to Serve But Nowhere to Go, Addressing Discrimination in Church Service. Since the Second Vatican Council, whose 50th anniversary we will be celebrating in this fall, there's been a very positive and transformative shift that has led to the rise of lay participation in church life. As part of this shift, local churches that were once primarily staffed by priests and religious are now primarily staffed by lay people, and 80% of those are women. Despite women's numbers, many find themselves facing discrimination when it comes to leadership and decision-making, ordination, employment, and wages. To begin today's panel, I wanted to share with you some words from a woman facing this discrimination. I received this note via a private message on Facebook. A woman had recently read a column I had written about the wage gap in the church for lay ministers. She is a Catholic lay minister on the East Coast, supporting a child in college. She agreed I could share that I could share what she wrote as long as I would not share her name. And this is what she said. Your NCR column hit home. I earn less than the average. I can't say too much online publicly, but it is really bad. I wrote back with what I hoped might be a few comforting words and asked if she might use some of the statistics I had written to negotiate perhaps higher. And she wrote back, "Thanks, Nicole. Not happening here. I just negotiated a little extra time off. For the record, and I do a lot of running of the parish day to day, I make $30,500. I then asked if there was anything I could do and offered her my prayers in solidarity. She wrote, "Thank you. Your prayers and the knowledge that we are in solidarity is a gift. I was called to this, and here I am. I spend some time crabbing to God and asking what I should do next." She then went on to write about some of her earlier work, but she says, "I then chose church, and I am way behind, so no retirement for me. My husband really does need to retire sooner. His work is physical, but we will need to live simply. That is okay, but it is justice that challenges me here." Justice indeed. I think that's why we are all gathered here this morning. For a church whose social justice teaching calls for just wages and just work, we have a far way to go in living the teaching ourselves, particularly for women. Now, many of you in this room know, often personally and sometimes painfully, the facts around lay women workers in the church. But I'd like to share with you some facts just so we're all starting today on the same page. From the very beginning of a young Catholic girl's life, she's faced with a Catholic culture that quite simply values men more than women. From the first drops of baptismal water that are poured on her head in the name of men, the Father and the Son, to the day that she dies and is anointed by a male priest. This young girl will likely experience a deep spiritual deprivation from knowing women's potential and women's goodness. If this young girl grows up and, despite everything, still feels God's call to her and is brave enough to respond to it, she may decide to enter church ministry. But here's what she's going to face. She will likely pay for a good portion of her seminary or theological education, unlike most male priests. Once she graduates, if she's lucky enough to receive a job with a contract, which is rare these days, she may find it has a morality clause which keeps her from speaking out on justice issues with which the Vatican disagrees. If she is the average laywoman minister, she will earn less taxable income than the average priest. And if she is a laywoman of color, she will earn even less than the average. She will likely not receive the same vacation time or sabbatical options as priests do. If she gives birth to a child, she will not likely receive paid parental leave. If she is a lesbian and marries her partner, she will likely lose her job. And if she loses her job due to budget cuts or a parish closing, she will not be automatically reassigned, as a priest often is. And during the time in which she searches for another job, she will likely not be able to collect unemployment insurance because dioceses are not mandated to pay into the system. And in her final years, as she is asked to contribute to the special collection for retired priests, there will be no special collection taken up on her behalf for her final years. And despite all this, one thing of which she cannot be deprived is her relationship with God and that call from God and her community to ministry. I applaud the courageous Catholic women who day after day, despite everything, remain faithful to God's call and to the needs of the people, and faithfully responds, yes. We are very lucky because we have some of these brave women with us here today on the panel, and I know many probably here listening as well. And I'm honored to introduce you to these women who represent just a small portion of the thousands of Catholics who are raising awareness and taking action for women. First, we have Sister Chris Schenk, who will be speaking on women's leadership and decision-making. Chris is a sister of St. Joseph and a fellow columnist for the National Catholic Reporter. She is well known for her work as the founding director of Future Church, which she led from 1990 to 2013. In that capacity, she administered 4 national initiatives with a focus on raising awareness and organizing Catholics to take action on women's issues in the Church. She has a master's degree in theology from St. Mary's Seminary and Graduate School of Theology in Cleveland, a master's of science from Boston College, and a BSN magna cum laude from Georgetown University. Currently, Chris is researching a book about women's leadership in early Christian art and archaeology. Welcome, Chris. Next, Laura Singer will be speaking on the topic of women's ordination. Laura is a cradle Catholic who has been an active member of Call to Action and Women's Ordination Conference since 1993. She served on the initial Next Generation Advisory Council of Call to Action and the Leadership Council of the Young Feminist Network for Women's Ordination Conference. She was the board president of WAC, Women's Ordination Conference, from 2008 to 2012. And we are happy to have Laura with us here today, too. And I am also very honored to introduce Trish Sullivan-Vani with us here today to speak on Catholic women's employment and just wage. Trish is a consultant to parishes, dioceses, and ministry professional associations in the areas of spiritual formation, vision casting, and mission development. An accomplished writer, she has written multiple magazine articles and books on spirituality, sacred scripture, effective preaching, and catechesis. Trish received a Master of Divinity degree at St. John's University in Collegeville, Minnesota, and an interdisciplinary PhD in Roman Catholic ecclesiology, liturgical theology, and organizational leadership theory at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, California. And we are very happy to have her as well with us.